Hey, B Schoolers, we've got a great episode this week for you on MSP Business School. You've probably heard all the hype around AI and business process automation, but at the same time, you're probably not sure to how to harness those tools and really bring better business outcomes to the businesses that you serve with your MSP. Well, don't worry. Today, we're going to answer some of those questions as our guest, Shane Naugher from Dazzee, joins me in a discussion on how to better utilize your business process automation and AI tools to really create amazing experiences for your customer. So stay tuned. We get started now. Hey everyone, welcome to the latest installment of MSP Business School. As always, I'm your host, Brian Doyle. And with me today, I want to introduce a special guest. I've got Shane Naugher from Dazzee joining me today. Shane's been a longtime VCIO Toolbox customer, so we've gotten to know him there, but that's not what he's here to talk about today. He's going to help educate us to the world of AI and business process automation as he sees it, but more importantly, as his customers are starting to leverage it. And I think that's a big question on a lot of MSPs' minds today. We hear all the buzz about AI, but where can we practically apply it with our clients? So, with that being said, Shane, welcome.
Well, thank you, Brian. And again, appreciate you allowing us to be on the podcast. It's always an honor to chat with you and catch up and talk about what's going on in the industry.
Well, I always say this, it's a lot of fun for me too, because I learn a ton during these sessions as a guy that's now on the wrong side of the fence in some respects, right? I don't see the day to day as much. And it's a lot of fun for me to learn, more and more about what's going on out there. But, before we get into the big AI and business process automation story, love you to just share with our listeners a little bit about your backstory and how you came to, kicking off Dazzee.
Gosh. So I've been in the industry going on almost 30 years. It's hard to believe that at this point, but the gray hair certainly justifies
time goes
it.
by quick, doesn't it? It's ridiculous.
It really does. Really does. I remember getting started in the industry and thinking of how cool technology was and what the capabilities were for every business and individual and what it would bring to our times. And it's just crazy to see how much we've advanced, and feel fortunate to be a part of the community with it. But so yeah, I mean, I started this particular company back in July of 2000. So we're going on 24 years of operation with Dazzee and the services that we provide, and we've morphed over the years. We started out primarily as a VAR, which I'm sure most of the folks out there started out in that space, doing a lot of hardware resale, implementing a lot of large scale Cisco infrastructure, IP telephony, security, those type of things. Had a very, very fortunate start with that, in that we teamed up with Cisco. Cisco connected us with Southwestern Bell, which was prior to them merging with AT&T. So as a small IT firm out of Southwest Missouri, we got into some fairly large scale environments that probably wouldn't have answered our call if we'd called without that relationship. So a lot of interesting, complex environments over the years. And really, we count that as a blessing because it exposed us to things that we just wouldn't normally see, probably focusing on our regional markets. So we've been contracted anywhere from Winnipeg, Canada, all the way down to the Florida Keys for jobs. So very fortunate to have been through that process and got us to where we are today.
Oh, that's awesome. And it is amazing how the evolutions really come for those of us that were in the MSP space, or I shouldn't even call it MSP space, right? Because we were really just VARs. I go back to the late 90s coming into that as well. And, the market has shifted, changed probably 6, 7 times during that period.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But thanks for sharing a little bit about your background. Now let's kind of move on a little bit to this AI discussion. I've been talking to a lot of different, obviously a lot of folks in the vendor community, obviously a lot of customers that we have over at VCIO Toolbox. And what I'm really seeing is almost a tale of two AIs. Almost every vendor is looking at how to, implement that and use that to help automate areas of their software. And certainly we're amongst those looking at that as well. But when we get to the MSP conversations, they're telling us a lot of their customers are a little bit guarded still on how to use AI. They really don't understand what the use cases are. They hear all the buzzwords, Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, all of that, but they really don't know what to do with it. So I'd love to hear from, your position. Where are you seeing AI being adopted, and, how are you guys kind of approaching those discussions with your customers?
Yeah, it's a good point because, my mother told me the other day when we were having a conversation around AI, she said, as you're explaining this to people, you have to help bring context to them that it is something that's going to help their organization. Because she said that the news will paint this as evil, that it's going to, get into your bank account, steal your money, eat your
the machine uprising is coming, right?
Right. And so, there's that negative aspect. And so in the discussions with clients and prospects, that is a real concern that a lot of the folks have is, what exactly is it? What is it going to do for us? Is it real? And the other aspect is it going to replace people? Because as business owners, we're always looking for ways to be more efficient, how we can do more with less, and make sure that we're maximizing the focus and the work that's being done. Because we all have tasks that we want to that we'd rather focus on, and we've got a lot of those tasks that just take up and consume a lot of time. And so, really, one of the things we always kind of look at is how do we look at those tasks that we really don't enjoy doing, or the repetitive, boring tasks, and look at those as kind of the starting point. And I always tell folks, I don't think it's so much about AI is going to replace people. There's certainly some entry level jobs that it has the potential to replace the functionality that we're seeing that with some of the industries today. But I see it more as people that know how to leverage and use AI may be replacing people that don't. And so as MSPs and consultants for our clients, it's our duty to make sure that we understand it first and show that value, show the relationship of what it can provide for them in terms of operations and efficiency, so that we calm those concerns, we show the advantages, and make sure that they understand that this is just a tool, not unlike any of the other tools that we've seen in the last 30 years when it comes to technology.
Yeah, and I think you've hit on some great points there. There is this fear that it's going to replace jobs. I think like anything in life, it's going to replace certain jobs, but elevate people into new positions, right? We had computer operators back in the day. You and I have traveled the same path in terms of timeline. I made almost all my money selling Exchange servers in the 2000s, right? And we were all worried we were going to be out of work when Office 365 came out. Little did we know it was going to create work for us, right? So,
Right.
The reality is there are shifting tides, and I think AI, from my perspective, is a great tool, but it still needs somebody that knows how to operate it, knows how to build the right prompts, as an example, or knows how to integrate the logic and really cull through it to really improve performance on it. So, I think you're spot on. And it sounds like you guys are eating your own dog food, which is an important part too, right? I think, MSPs do need to really internally embrace IT or AI, and see where they can take it in order to be able to really have those discussions with the customer. So maybe you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about, how you're approaching that today at Dazzee.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think for us, just again, going back to any other technology, we wouldn't go out and sell something we'd never tested or gone through the steps with internally, for our clients that are trying to look at this. So same thing with AI. I think it's important for us to get in and start testing it, understand the operations, also the constraints. From a data governance perspective, that is one of the concerns we have when it comes to AI. Is as clients are starting to explore, test, and play around with it, what's being put out into those AI tools? Does it cause compliance issues? Does it cause regulatory issues? Does it cause internal data validation issues where we got to make sure we're limiting what's out there? And so for us, we made the decision internally that we're going to do everything we can to learn it in-house, to apply it in-house, and know what our clients are going to be up against before they have to jump in and start figuring it out on their own. So, I mean, with any other technology, everyone that is looking towards technology, that embraces technology, they're anxious to start adopting that. So it's crucial, I think, to get in ahead and do that. So that's one of the things we've done over the last really year, is gone in and look at all the tools that are there, both from our MSP tools. As you mentioned, every vendor is looking at it. How do they implement it today? And you have to be careful of that as well, because a lot of the vendors just basically say, "Oh, we got the same tool, but it's AI now," and we just say that's the functionality.
Yeah, some people are just baking it in some way that it just to have it on the label, right? But I think there's, you hit some of the security concerns, you hit some of the content concerns too. At VCIO Toolbox, we're looking at it as, yes, we'd like to explore AI to help generate recommendations based off of the facts that people have, so it'll move things a little bit quicker, through the process for you. But we have to make sure that that data can stay segmented, that we're learning the language, but we're keeping the customer's data isolated to their realm, that none of it's getting out into the public space, but yet we are contributing to the public where data is not sensitive, in order to continue to reap the benefits of that getting stronger too. So there's a lot of considerations on how to build it in, and also how to harness it in a workflow that really does enhance the client's experience within an app, versus just having it for that sake of having it, right? And it's not really bringing anything extra to the party.
Yeah, and I think for us, the starting point was to look at what functionality do we want to have AI step in and help us with. And then, we kind of step through it in a process manner where, what are the tasks that we're looking to enhance or to bring efficiency to? Then what are the capabilities of the tools that we're using? And that's a whole other process that you've got to step through, because again, everyone is starting to say AI. It doesn't matter whether it's really that deep in terms of functionality. You've got to do your due diligence to explore what's being done there, what the capabilities are, because one of the things that does concern me is that with the rush to AI, you and I've been in the industry similar amounts of time. This is probably the fastest adoption and change within a technology that I've seen to date. I can't even think of another transformation that happened that was at this pace. I mean, .com boom was, I guess, the closest thing, but even that was years worth of change.
Yeah.
And really, what we're seeing this stuff change overnight by the week. Stuff is being implemented, added. So that is a concern. So exploring those tools, probably that first process. What's there? What are the capabilities? What is it tied to? As you're leveraging ChatGPT, I think everyone knows, or most people know at this point, you've got the public version, you've got private instances, whether you're doing that through the ChatGPT version or through Azure OpenAI. But you want to make sure that the tools that you're using, where is that being shared? And so that was for us. We started with, what do we want to accomplish? What are the capabilities of the tools that we have available? And the final piece of that is, do we need to bring in additional tools? And so that was kind of the roadmap that we used internally. It's kind of how we're sparking the conversations with our clients as well.
Perfect. And, maybe that's where we can segue a little bit into this topic here, AI and its relationship to business process automation. You mentioned just a moment ago, it may require more tools. And I think really we're seeing AI, internally in our places. How do we make it enhance the process our team's doing, or our end users are doing, so it can become a little bit less manual, a little bit more automated in a controlled manner, right? So I'd love to get your take on where you're seeing that actually happen out in the small to mid-sized business community.
Oh, you're speaking my language, because process automation, I fell in love with that. That's really what got me involved in technology to begin with. It wasn't called business process automation back then. I think it was business process management. It's where it kind of stemmed from. But when I got started in the industry, we were starting on SEO Unix boxes. And I remember the engineer that came in to help us with the deployment ran this deployment cron script that pulled from other sources and installed all of this stuff. And I was just sitting there thinking, man, this is incredible what's being done with no one touching the keyboard. That probably would take hours. And I was like, if every business could implement this is huge. That goes all the way back to the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So looking at how we've evolved from those basics, the cron scripts and automations around that, to those were very much time-based. You ran a script based upon a day and a time, and there was really no intelligence there. It was just a scheduled script that ran. Now, with more of the advanced business process automation tools that are available, that came into play, almost 10 years ago when there was more of those tools available. Now we're taking things that aren't just scheduled based, they're action based, integrating different tools into those so that now you can talk to different applications. Now you throw in AI as a component into that. Now you've really got a tool that can leverage not only different tool sets and different capabilities and different data, but some intelligence to go along with it. And that's really where I see that there is a huge potential for businesses to latch on, really drive some efficiencies, and enhance what they're doing. Not just efficiencies, but enhance what they're doing, become more competitive in the marketplace, do things that their competitors are not doing through the use of the automation capabilities. AI gets all the attention because it's the buzzword today. Everyone's excited about it. But really, I think the more valuable aspect of this is business process automation and tying AI into that, because that gives you the deliverable, whether you're using one or 15 different tools to deliver that.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely on that, because I think automation has been around for a long time. We started with scripting, automation, and things like that in the early days of the RMM tools as well, and that really brought a lot of efficiencies to our organizations, and we've continued on. But it's that intelligence piece. It's being able to grab information from other sources, or look at the work that we've done before and really start crafting some knowledge that helps really work the process. I mean, you just look around at tools like Thread and Crushbank and some of the tools that are working from a service automation standpoint. They're looking at your tickets, they're able to identify who should be assigned to it, and they're putting a timestamp to it. That's great. That's a great starting point. That certainly helps educate the end user that, hey, I'm expected to finish this ticket inside of a half hour or an hour or 2 hours, and really put a fence around it there. But, in skill-based routing obviously helps with making sure the right people at the right price are doing the work. But that's just the scratching the surface. Maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the applications you've seen doing thus far.
Yeah, so internally, we've done a lot of the stuff that most people in the industry or in the MSP space are looking at, automating ticket responses and things like that, the basics, time entries, those type of things. And those are great. They enhance what you do. Having access to pull in knowledge base articles to help you in that resolution process. All those things are good, but we're looking to expand beyond that. So I'll give you an example that we implemented recently, and then kind of talk about what we've got on the roadmap for us. So in our sales process, we follow the Sandler sales methodology, which I know a lot of people do.
Yeah, I was a Sandler guy.
That pain money decision framework and making sure that you step through that and how critical it is. We've even leveraged private coaches for the Sandler system in the past. And as we were looking at that and really training our salespeople, one of the things we looked at is how do we bring business process automation and AI to that workflow. So today, I'm sure most people are conducting their sales calls, at least initially, over Teams or Zoom. We've got an AI component that is the note taker on those calls, records those calls, gives us a transcript. We've gone out and we've built an actual custom GPT that's based upon a Sandler sales coach that we say we want to monitor for these specific talking points throughout the conversation and the sales process. And then we take the transcript and we upload that into that AI model and say, okay, give us feedback on how we did on this sales call. What are the areas that we did well on? What are the areas that we need to improve upon? Give me some suggested follow-up items. And it is amazing what we've been able to glean from that. Things that before, without the recording, was a hindrance to begin with. But now we got the actual, sales call that you can listen to and see the transcript and really get some customized feedback for to coach our sales team. And kind of along that line, one of the things we're looking at in our roadmap for our service to our customers going forward is calls that come into our service desk. All of those are recorded to make sure that we have a quality control there. So those are going to get uploaded into an analysis where we can see what are the most common items that people are calling about. so that we know, are the things that we can do from an education perspective to help our audience and our customers understand how to better use the tools that are there. Are there sentiment analysis items that we can bring to the table to make sure we're staying on top of any type of problem issues, or if we're doing a really good job with a particular one of our techs or agents, make sure that they're recognized for it. So that's kind of that next step in that evolution. But it's things like that step outside of the normal just tool set capabilities that, it's probably one of the most exciting times in my career in terms of what can we start bringing to the table with technology.
Well, it's amazing, even what you just talked about from a sales perspective. When you think about one of the biggest challenges for almost any MSP, it's what we hear all the time is client acquisition, finding good salespeople who know how to close. But the reality is you can't sit there and monitor every call. You can't sit there and work through that process as much as we would like to and still do the things that need to be done in your business. So being able to pull those transcripts and kind of analyze them and then put them into a process that you're training all your team on and giving feedback, I got to assume that's great both for the managers, of course, and understanding where there might be gaps and is this person getting it, but also for the sales rep, they can see almost in real time, hey, I missed this here, I need to improve this here, and kind of try that on the next call. So that's an interesting application, and I think you're really hitting upon dream it. And if you can dream it, see how AI can potentially enable and support it. We have all the security considerations, all those things, of course, but what do you hate doing and what could be better? Or what's a gap that you're missing? And that's a really creative one, Shane. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it's one that, as the owner of the business, I always give feedback on the sales calls to our reps. And, you always kind of wonder, am I being too critical? And this brings a third-party validation to that it's not just my opinion. You've got this, AI functionality that is giving you that non-biased input and feedback. And our reps actually look forward to that. So.
No, that's awesome. Plus, sometimes when you're on a call, you think you've got somebody on the hook, right? So maybe it can even help you with why couldn't I get the close? Where did I fall down, right? That was something that I struggled with early in my career. I was there. I spent 4 minutes on this phone call. I had them. I thought I had them at the doorstep, and they told me nope.
Yep.
But no, it's
and
great.
There's calls.
Oh, please.
Sorry. No, there's calls that I get off of, and then I'm like, man, that was an excellent sales call. I just nailed that, and I'll run it through that analysis, and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to ask this. I didn't get that part completely nailed down, or I overlooked, this big pain point that they gave me, and I didn't latch onto. And so it gives you that, hey, here's how you can go back and make sure that you throw everything you can at the deal to win it, and make sure that you're covering all points.
So we're getting near the end of our time, but I know you were telling me about a new product that you've put together for Dazzee as well. Love to hear a little bit about that and how that can help your small business community.
Yeah, so I'm a big data nerd. Have always been a data nerd. So
goes with the process stuff, right?
It really does. My team will tell you when we have our quarterly meetings and our weekly meetings, even everything's based upon data. And for me, I'm sure as most of the MSP community, we started with BrightGauge years ago. I want to say we started with BrightGauge back in 2015, 2016, sometime in there. And so we framed every one of our operations and metrics around that, making sure that we're measuring and trying to improve on it. But what we found is a lot of our clients didn't have that same visibility into their operations. And as we're talking to them, they said that's would be great if we could get something like that. But we don't have a data scientist on staff. We don't have the tools to deploy this. It's expensive. And so that's one of the things we decided at the end of last year in Q3 and Q4 that we wanted to bring a solution to the table for our clients. And so we've introduced Dazzee Datalytics. And it's a business intelligence platform that we can deliver for our customers. We manage it for them. They don't have to have the expertise in-house. We help them understand what are the leading indicators, lagging indicators, all the KPIs that they need to be measuring, and then bring that as a done for you type service. So one of the things that we love being able to deliver to clients because it's how we've operated for the last 10 years almost. So.
Yeah, and I mean, it brings a lot of transparency in the relationship too, which is something that they're looking for. So, that's great. I mean, customers being able to get that visibility, being able to understand what's driving their business and how they're lagging behind, obviously that takes things to a much higher level and certainly tightens the relationship between you and your customer.
Yeah.
So,
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to, last point I'd make with that is that it ties so closely in with the business process automation, because a lot of times the data feeds the need for the automations or vice versa. So that's one of the things that it's just really exciting for our clients and the industry as a whole.
Awesome. So, listener, if you're listening via podcast, you can go to Dazzee, DAZZEE.com, and then you can see analytics right there on the front page. For those watching on YouTube, you'll see that URL is up on our window right now. Shane, any closing thoughts before we wrap up today?
I guess just as technology leaders in our space that bring solutions to our client, I just encourage everyone to really dig in and look at what are you doing around these technologies. You want to be on the forefront, making sure that your clients look to you as that leader to help them through the process. Because as you mentioned, 20 years ago, we were worried about making sure we delivered Exchange servers to them. They didn't have to worry about that. Now that this is the new Exchange server that everyone's going to be looking towards. So.
Awesome. So, really appreciate you joining me today, Shane. Again, anybody that's looking to connect with Shane, I encourage you to. We'll be putting his LinkedIn profile in with our show notes. You'll get those notes anywhere you download your podcast, including YouTube, where you can watch it video as well. I encourage you to reach out to Shane if you have any questions, and definitely check out what's going on over at Dazzee. Shane, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's always fun to get to have folks that I know come in and tell me things I don't know about them. So I really appreciate you sharing a little bit about what you're doing there around AI and business automation. And I look forward to chatting again with you soon.
Always a pleasure, Brian. Appreciate being included.
Thank you.